If you could see what's going on this afternoon, folks. Welcome to the House of Mirth.
Oh, you're not wrong there. Oh,
It's
God.
been a very good weekend. The sun is shining in
Yeah, it's
London.
very hot today.
Very
I actually came looking all winter,
Yes.
dressed in winter clothing, and it's
Absolutely.
very hot, very hot.
Absolutely, but we've got the air conditioning on.
We have.
Oh,
Nice
it's
and
so
cool
wonderful in London, and of course,
We have Steven here today.
we have Dr. Stephen as well.
Dr.
I'm here.
We have,
full
we have
effect.
Dr. Stephen as well.
He
which
needs
is
to help us. because-
Wonderful.
oh,
But just in case, folks, you may wonder why they might have a slight issue with tissues. An issue with tissue. It's because they both got hay fever this afternoon, and that's what we were just laughing about.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
we
They were
were.
hoping.
we both got tissues tucked behind us.
They're hoping that
Just in
neither
case.
of them
Yeah.
have a sneezing fit.
Yep.
There's super pollen now, Ian. It's not just pollen anymore.
No.
They call it super pollen.
Super
And it
pollen.
attacks us from within and it eats us alive. That's how drastic this is.
Oh my goodness.
You know,
That's really drastic.
well, all I can say to that is, I hope it doesn't happen during the show.
Oh,
yeah,
charming.
me too.
That's what Ian gets about the show.
We'll try not to
I
sneeze
hope
on
it
you.
doesn't. Try not to. Yeah.
Try not to sneeze on
Oh.
you. We'll try.
So it's been a very eventful
Yes, it has.
weekend in the way of show business, and Stephen will be talking about show business shortly,
Oh,
hopefully,
yes.
in between attacks of
Sneezing
hay
fits,
fever. And we're going to be talking about,
Yes.
what are we going to be talking about?
We
gonna
got lots to
we
talk
got
about today.
lots to talk
We
about
do,
this
we
afternoon.
do.
So it starts off wonderfully. This weekend in Britain, the former suffragette movement, which got the vote for women 100 years ago, has been celebrated by women today. And in London, 50,000 women turned up.
It's a lot
for a
of
rally.
women. Yeah.
And in Edinburgh, something like about 15,000 turned
Amazing.
up. Cardiff the same, and the same in Belfast. So first of all, I was absolutely enamoured by what these women were saying, and the BBC, which is our main communication television channel in Britain, they went live for 6 hours just talking to these women,
Yes.
and I found
Did
it
you see that? Steve?
Some of them.
fascinating.
Oh,
I
okay.
found it fascinating that the energy is still there. They still feel that there are problems for women today
Which they are.
that
yeah.
need to be addressed,
Yes.
and I totally agree, as you know.
Yeah.
you
And I
know,
totally agree too.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good to hear. Both of you agree.
You know,
that is
we normally agree. You make it sound like, you know, like we're laughing on
supportive,
stage,
Diana.
off stage.
Yeah, all right, all right.
Like,
Support
daggers
the ladies.
drawn.
Yeah, I wonder how Stephen supports the ladies. But
Hey, 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 hey. I support the ladies in professional mannerism, okay?
No.
And as we say, folks, there's no answer to that really, you know. But anyway, trying to continue on in a more sort of focused vein. What do you think? What other types of things that you think women still require these days?
Well, equality. You know, we still are struggling to voice our opinions to this day. You know, it's still very much a man's world.
But why do you think that is still, as in all this time? Why do you
Well, I'd say in the corporate world, you know, more and more women are, you know, in key positions,
think? Yeah.
which is true. But then there's a lot of women, you know, that aren't, and they don't have the voice, you know, to say what they feel, how they feel. You know, we're expected to be, you know, strong super women all the time, but we've got, you know, feelings as well. We've got, you know, there's careers we'd like to do. There's, you know, we're bringing up the children as well. We're mothers, we're wives, you know, it's a lot.
Is it lack of
Support.
yeah, is that what you think it may be, or a sounding board, or lack of voice, or lack of platform to
Yeah, I
use?
mean, okay, I'm in the media world, and you know.
Are you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Stephen, please.
Thanks for that, Diana. We had no idea. You
No,
she's in the media world.
what I meant is acting, okay?
Okay.
Performing.
Right.
And again, it's still very difficult to get a decent role for women, especially if you're a matured woman. Why is it? In
Yeah.
2018, we're still fighting for that.
That's
Whereas
true.
with a man, he can get away with it, he's distinguished, it's okay for him
You're
to...
talking about me, aren't you?
There's only one distinguished gentleman on this panel today, so, you know.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, really, my pleasure.
For that compliment.
Okay, you two, can you just cut it out? Yeah. So for me, yes, and I'm all for, you know, the women going out there and doing our thing.
I mean, I think it's just as important. I mean, this week there's going to be a lot of talks about the difference in bosses and employees in the way of payment.
I heard
so. There's a lot of talk about that. I think, again, there's still many issues as regarding just a level playing field, as regarding what women are paid and what men are paid. Mm-hmm. And for the life of me, I don't understand why. That, you know, if they're doing the same job, if people are doing the same job and they're putting in the same perspective to it, I think, you know, sometimes women are being held to ransom because they've had children, and so it's a break in their career.
It's true, and you know, let's be honest, you know, back in the day, women were bringing up the children and men were literally going out to work. But, you know, it's a majority of men there making decisions for us women.
Can I just say, when I was working in the corporate world and I was a director in the corporate world, I was actually trained and taught whilst interviewing women to ask if they're going to have children anytime soon, if they're going to go through menopause, and I mean, there were certain things that I was told to ask because these were the premises that I had to make a decision on hiring. So I agree with what you're saying because I've seen it from board level firsthand, where they instructed me to make sure I qualify, and the woman that was the single lady who had no commitments, not married, not children, and can just work
and focus
and do as they're told, basically, was kind of what was.
Do you see how unfair that is, though?
I totally agree, because
and that's on the inside.
As you know, I have this thing about life. I embrace womanhood, and I understand what womanhood is, you know, and all the virtues and the values that women bring, you know, to any sort of type of situation. And I think it's very, very important in this day and age, especially, that more people recognise the values that women can bring to any sort of type of situation. I think it's very, very important that that message goes out there. Yeah. You know, I look at my generation, you know, I remember my father, he never had a day off work, and, you know, he had, I think, 35 years. My mother stayed at home all the time up till when I left home to get married. And then she went back to her nursing career, and she became an assistant matron. You know, she became so ambitious. She became an assistant matron, which was great. So, and I suppose it was a different philosophy, but I think these days, power to women, empower women, give them just as much opportunity. Yeah. And I think, quite honestly, folks out there, and it'd be interesting to get your perspective as well, what is happening today in the way of empowerment could make the world a much better place at the same time. It really could.
Totally agree, there'd be a balance.
Because we're humans.
Yeah.
You know, it's society that separated men and women and who and should and shouldn't, couldn't. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. So everybody should have the same platform, the same chances.
And be given the same opportunities.
Right, as human beings.
Yeah.
Not so
and that segues very nicely into our next topic, which is Kim Jong-un.
No, muscle laugh now. This is serious, folks.
and Donald Trump.
And Lord Trump.
Now we can't be serious.
I mean, so there was actually, I was listening to someone, basically at the moment, it's the meeting of the two heavyweight minds, literally, as well, physically as well as mentally, tomorrow in Singapore, and it's in this very expensive resort in Singapore. But the thing I first of all understood was that he was having a meeting, Trump was having a meeting with senior people from South Korea and the Singapore government. And all of a sudden, they all stop. And it's his birthday today.
What, Trump?
It's Trump's birthday today.
I wasn't aware of that.
It's Trump's birthday today.
I had no idea.
And they all stop and they start singing happy birthday. And they've got him a cake.
Oh, he
wow,
would have been in
okay.
his element.
They've got him this birthday. So it does prove, A, he likes cake and he's human. And thank God that's two qualities where I can sort of embrace him with at the
Oh,
same
wow.
time.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yes, but what do you feel about the G7? You know, him pulling out and.
I think, the reality is, you should never call people names, you know.
Oh,
right, exactly.
You mean the Canadian
president?
I think it works both ways. You should never call people names, you know, and that's almost like a schoolboy mentality with or something like that as well. But I think in some ways I can actually understand where he's coming from as well. I think America has always wanted it to be seen as the policeman of the world. And in that way they can control the world and control their destiny at the same time.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
And now what Trump is saying is we're not going to pay for that anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and there has been, I think, different regimes going on in policy and structure. Over the past decades that other presidents have allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And so I can see where he's coming from. The danger is because of his volatile nature,
Yes.
that he will start doing things that will really upset the apple cart.
Yeah.
Well,
And
he's
undo certain things
Yeah.
that have been done
Yeah,
or
exactly.
planning to be done.
Yeah.
He's changing the shape. He's changing the way talks go. He's changing the way deals are done.
Yeah.
He's changing the way the world sees America now.
His communication skills are just.
He's more on Twitter
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
he is
that's
being a
his
president,
communication. Yeah, he is,
unfortunately, you know.
yeah.
And that's the
But
problem.
that might be, you know, a new way forward. I mean, you know, the thing that, and I study politics as well, you know, there's been different eras where things like that happen. You know, I mean, there's been periods where it was only from about the early 1950s onwards and probably going up to probably Harold Wilson. So when I first started in photography in that way in the 1970s, that television was allowed in and to do things with prime ministers. Because they all feared television. They all feared the effect of it. They all feared of making a mistake. You know, I can remember one case where I forget the name of the minister, but he was a defence minister, and there was a very famous commentator called Robin Day, who was a very, very argumentative, very forthright character to actually deal with. And this guy got so fed up with the interview, he took his microphone, walked off, and sent his resignation into the government that night, saying he just couldn't stand the pace of it anymore. So we may be seeing a different era.
Yeah.
You know, we may be seeing a different era of government. I mean, I thought it was very interesting to see how I was going to say Meghan Markle. It's not Mrs. Merkel. You know, the German. The German minister, sort of leaning over the table, you know, trying to sort of look, and he's looking as if to say, well, you know, I don't care what you say. So I think there has to be a consensus, you know, with all this at the same time, you know, of power broking. And what he is really sort of saying is, I think that America is still happy to do their part, but they don't want to be paying for everything at the same time.
But I think it's a fear at the same time of the younger generation, because they're seeing politics in a completely different way now, and politics is seen as a joke now.
Yeah, we're not a very good example to the young, are we?
It's not a positive light.
No.
I speak to some of the young people and ask them, you know, the ones that used to be interested in politics, they're now stepping away because it's just now seen as a joke. It's seen as a mockery. Trump is just seen as a clown. It's not really setting the right precedent for the youngsters who
If
actually,
they want to get into
go into politics. They're seeing it's a circus, and it's not actually being taken serious anymore. So I don't know if it's the right thing in the sense of a new government and a new way of doing things for the younger generation looking forward.
Can you lighten things up now, Stephen? This sounds like, I mean, Trump is like...
This is something that, you know, is brought up that, you know, we have to touch on, but
I
it
think
is
so,
important.
It's a valid point, though.
Do you know, I think the reality as well is that I've had a background in politics as well. It is a circus. That's
unfortunately. And that's
but now, you know, the king of the talent shows, you know,
Is the head of the
is now the president.
king reality star is now king of the country.
Yes.
So
we've got about a minute or so just to touch on one sort of celebrity.
I want to talk about charity because they had the Soccer Aid, which was on yesterday.
I saw that.
Which featured Usain Bolt, Robbie Williams. So there was some really
and
big
Mo Farah.
Mo Farah was there also playing, and they happened to raise £5.5 million for charity.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a very good day, very good turnout. Everybody came, everybody paid. No one was scared to actually commit to something, and they all went out there and took it really seriously. Because I watched the match, and I actually thought I was watching
a proper
the Premier League.
And Bolt had a goal disallowed.
He did,
for being offside. But I swear to God, he hasn't lost any of his speed, has he? He left them for dead.
But David Harewood.
Oh yes, I saw him. He was a goalie, right?
Yeah, he saved 2 penalties.
No,
and he was the saviour.
Isn't he in Superman and
loads of different films. He's a big actor, you know, Hollywood actor.
Supergirl. That's it.
He's a Hollywood actor who's English, and if it wasn't for his 2 saves, they wouldn't have won. So England brought the cup back against the rest of the world. They raised a whole lot of money.
That's very good.
And it's a good build-up to the World Cup, which starts this week.
Excellent.
Oh no!
Right across the world, in Africa, right across Europe.
Everybody loves the World Cup, man.
Oh no!
But you used to watch it.
On and off.
I just get the feeling on that note.
Sorry, viewers.
We're going to go to a break.
Please do.
We're going to go to a break because do you like football?
Come on, England. Let's show them something.
Let's go to a break. Let's go to a break.
Take care, viewers. Bye-bye.
Okay. And we're back. Oh,
I thought I was going to be relegated somewhere.
Oh, Lord. I thought you were going to get a red card then.
Stephen was not happy with me.
Oh, dear. And our next guest. What has our next guest just admitted to you?
She loves football. Can you believe this, viewers? Even the camera lady here, Maria, likes football. I'd rather watch Coronation Street,
Are you the only one? Are you the only one here?
Do you know I'm a boxing fan? That's what I love, boxing. Hello.
Right, okay.
Thank you for coming to our show.
It's got nothing to do with what we're just about to talk about.
No.
I just thought I'd get that out, so we can talk a bit more.
No, she's here on a serious matter.
Please introduce yourself.
My name's Charlhene. I'm Congolese, English. I've been here for over 25 years. And I run Bas Ya Kongo, which is a small community initiative for Congolese people.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, at the moment we're focusing on things that raise awareness on subjects like sexual violence and youth violence in London at the moment. Yeah.
Is it designed to actually create initiatives, or or is it really just a talking platform? How do you perceive it?
Well, at the moment it starts off just as a talking platform because a lot of the subjects are not being spoken of. So we need to get the dialogue started before we can do anything else. But initially we will aim to get to workshops and programs to help people understand, because a lot of it is down to misunderstanding and lack of education in terms of these 2 categories.
And you're talking, I think one of your first conference pieces that's happening shortly is all about knife crime and how it affects the Congolese community. Now, I hope I knew the Congolese community quite well. I didn't realise there was such an issue in the Congolese community in Britain, but you're saying that it's becoming more prevalent?
Yeah, there's, at the moment we've already had, that I know of, 3 deaths this year, up to 74 in total in London, between gun and knife crimes. And for the Congolese perspective, it's almost like it's other people's problem and not our problem. And when it happens to a kid that you always hear this sort of, that's their kids. They failed. It won't happen to mine until it does happen to theirs, and then it's still almost a denial.
Why is that?
I think it's the integration. The Congolese community haven't quite integrated. Not so much my generation, but the older generation, the parents, my parents, they haven't quite integrated into what's going on in London.
Do you think they feel embarrassed by it? Because they want to be seen as good citizens. That they want to feel that there is tremendous respect for the community, and when they sort of hear about things like knife crime and gangs that might involve Congolese, they're almost hushing it up. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much what they do with most subjects, including the subjects of sexual violence. It's, you know, anything of a negative reflection on the community, it's like, you know, we want to be dealing with that, we brush it away. It's very shameful, and anyone who goes through it actually is subject to that same treatment. You're shown from the, you know, communities that you're a bad apple, basically.
And so what's the answer?
The answer is to try and understand why the youth are going through it. What are they missing? What are they lacking? If there is a miscommunication, we need to understand from both ends. The parents, it might just be a sense of understanding, like I said before, about integration. If the parents are integrated into the London way of living, well, these kids aren't migrants, they're born here, most of them. So they only know the one way of life, whereas their parents know two different ways. So maybe it might be that the parents need to understand their way and try to incorporate that, or even just get in workshops.
And do you think, I mean, how do you perceive yourself, you know, as someone from the Congolese community and your age group? How do you perceive Britain?
I love London, and I also love Congo. And I think that once we embrace the two values of both sides, it can marry very well. And that's what's lacking. It's just, you know, getting the best of both sides for the Congolese community, and then eventually we will build from that a better, you know, life for the youth as well as the grown-ups.
And that's a very good question. What do you think are the values of London, and what do you think are the values of the Congolese community in London?
The values of the Congolese community mainly stems from previous, before the previous administrations, where the life was better and greater. Whereas if you reflect that to someone like me who's raised here, I don't know that. I only know this way of life. So again, I need to sort of almost translate what my parents know into today, you know, the language of London. And I do think that both sides have brilliant, you know, grassroots.
Do a lot of people your generation feel the same as yourself? Because it's two separate
I think
worlds there.
Younger than myself, so in a teenage perspective, they're not quite as focused as to what's going on in Congo. It's more of, that's my parents' culture.
Do they care?
I think they do care, but I think it's the packaging.
What do you mean when you say the packaging?
I think the packaging of Congo is dull, you know, negative.
As they perceive it, or
as they perceive it, yeah.
Okay.
And when you're hearing, you know, I don't know, if you put it in perspective, a 15-year-old today is Instagram, you know, Kim Kardashian, all the glitz and the glamour. So when you present to them a Congo that is striving with poverty and all those kind of things, it's not something that appeals to
They
them.
feel they can't relate to that.
Exactly.
So do you think there should be more Congolese role models of your age group that can actually sort of show the true values?
I think there is Congolese role models. I think they need to be shown. I think they need to be, you know, put up on a pedestal and highlighted a lot more than the negative is at the moment. There's plenty of male, female that are doing great things in the community, great charities, great initiatives. There's plenty of that, but they're not showcased. They're not embraced.
And is that because they just want to keep within their community, or you know, why do you think they're not being seen more?
Again, I think it's an element of both. There's one element where they feel that they have to just keep within themselves because they've tried to get out and no one wants to embrace that because it's a lot more popular.
That's how it's perceived.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, as you can see on this show, we very much want to reach out to all the communities. You know, our show is all about that. It's building bridges, and so however we can sort of work with people like yourself to actually build that structure and that trust, it's very important, because I think trust is part of it as well. You know, in other words, you know, and it's very brave to come on a show like ours. You know, we're doing a live show, folks, this afternoon. It's quite daunting for anyone who's never done sort of television. And it's daunting working with this lady. Well,
I'm really very easygoing. No, but you're saying you've not done this before, and I think, you know.
And so
you're doing a great job.
It is important. We feel, literally the two of us, so does the station Olive Television, feel that it's so important to give you a voice, and we want to give you a voice, and we want to be able to sort of really create a support structure and a platform for it at the same time. So, you know, if we're touching on knife crime, because when and where is going to be this, because you're having a meeting?
Yeah, it's on the 21st of July. It's going to be in Walthamstow in Harmony Hall. The address and everything can be found.
So what is that exactly when you say the 21st?
21st of July, sorry. 21st of July, 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. We wanted to make it available to everyone, so that's why we picked it during the off-school season. In Walthamstow, Harmony Hall. Anyone and everyone's welcome. It doesn't have to be a Congolese thing, because again, we can all benefit from everyone's input.
And the focus on the first theme is really knife crime, is that true?
Yeah, the first part is definitely knife crime. It's a massive London issue. It's not just a one community, it's a collective city issue that we need to address. We need the more talks we have about it, the more resolutions will come to find it. In fact, we'll understand the teenagers more if more teenagers stand up and told us why or what it is that's attracting them.
So are you giving young people the platform to, talk about, give their thoughts, and do you have other speakers on board as well?
I don't want to speak for them. I want to hear what they feel, what they think. There is no wrong answer.
No.
So there is no wrong opinion. So that the more they come and the more they tell us this is how I feel, the more we're going to understand what they're going through.
Do you think they are looking at? I look at it from a different perspective. I suppose, for years I've been very much against all these violent videos, video games, and so forth, where people are killed, and it's almost become like a culture, and they don't even think about it. And I think I think a lot of teenagers could be affected by something like that, where they actually don't see the reality. All they see, is some sort of sanitized effect. And I wonder whether that is part and parcel of, it's creating an excitement, isn't it? I suppose every teenager likes to rebel. Every teenager likes to have that sort of form of excitement. But what do you think is missing for teenagers, especially in the Congolese community right now?
I think jobs, apprenticeships, more understanding of the subject that you just said there about, the music or even the crime itself. Just understanding that there's another side to it. There's the side of whoever's life you take, there's a consequence, and there's a side for yourself as well. Just understanding the consequence of everything. And once everyone receives all of this and has, okay, I understand it now, at least I've now got a choice, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to then therefore go into crimes. Whereas a lot of people that I've spoken to, it's very much lack of jobs. I want to have those clothes that I'm seeing on Instagram. I want to wear what that person's wearing, and this is the easiest route.
So would you say that, because I know in the media, the news, they're trying to say that music plays a strong part in, why our youths have gone a bit wild.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a part of it. I don't think it's conclusive. It only plays a part, in my opinion, if the child or the youth hasn't got the foundations in place. Because we see violence on the movies. But with the right foundation, the right education, home and school, you'll be able to, think for yourself.
So that's what we need to encourage, really.
Much, yeah.
I've always believed that schools, we should be teaching young people about leadership skills.
No,
I just don't think.
I totally agree. And you were just saying, you from where you are at the moment, there's been another stabbing or something this afternoon. So it's terrible. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. As always, please come back and talk more about something, because you're fascinating.
Thank you very much.
And you've got a great perspective to what we're trying to do. So again, thank you so much from Dr. Steven, adding that little bit of new
perspective.
Yes, new perspectives. He did extremely well. Thank you.
Yeah. Likewise.
Thank you, Charlhene.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for Miriam, and thank you for
Justice
as well, for doing what we're doing today. And as always, keep on smiling, because it makes people wondering what you're smiling about. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.